Moving. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Getting off to an early start this morning. Usually we hit about 9 o'clock, but we got to go early because I got stuff to do today. You know, we are full swing into the Christmas season. So it's important that we start off early. All right, so let's take a look at where we're at right now. We got some fun stuff. And if you guys give me a minute, I got to go grab something, and I want to show a couple of these things off this morning. Bear with me for just a second. I will be right back. Watch out, Charles. All right, let's do this. All right. Welcome. Hey, Kay. How you doing? Good morning. Good to see you up on the show this morning. Open that up so I can see what I'm doing. I am blessed and ready to go ahead and get some success today. So, I mean, I know it's a short run, but hey, it does what it's supposed to do. So I'm ready to get the day moving. We are in full Christmas swing. Like, it's the latter part of it. So I got a lot of work to do and a little bit of time. Can only imagine how you're doing. What's going on downtown? All right, so let's see where we're at. I finally got the list printed up. It's about darn time, right? Well, check you out. Yeah, I still got a couple of last minute things that I have to get, but nothing that can't be gotten, just by making a visit to the store. So that's the good part. So I'm very happy about that. Yeah, that is a blessing in disguise. I did like those days creating the magic, but I get it, kids age up and they're not about that life anymore. Now it's all about getting my kids things that they can use because I'm tired of getting them just junk. It's not my way anymore. And I'll tell them to their faces. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I want you guys to have things that you can really use because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, stuff is nice, but um, but you got to have things that are practical. So you have a little bit of both. So this morning I finally got I've had this list. I just had to get it printed out in a way that I could go through and get things a little bit more organized. And I'm finally going to be posting this list as well. That's actually a really good deal. Yeah, I mean, I typically like make a list of things that my kids would like, but I'm also keeping in mind things that they are going to need. My kids, some of them have gone to college and gone to other places, so um, it has been very important for me to make sure that I'm staying on top of that stuff. Okay, so it looks like, oh, I didn't have Everett Ross. I replaced that. That's Electro. Okay, I got to update that part of my list. So this is where I'm at. So I got to do Falcon, and then this Phantom X. I got to do those two next. So that's what's next on my list. Yeah, I mean, look, I commend you for that, and I get the whole budget thing. That does make sense, and yeah, you have to adjust that budget accordingly to how many little kiddos and how many other people that you're going to be buying for. So I think that budget is very reasonable. You can do a lot for that kind of money. I mean, heck, even if they were to get like $100 gift card and the rest, the $25 is like something else, then they can go out and get their own stuff. Yeah, look, I like to stretch. I like to make my money count. So I'm a big Lego guy. That's like my what we call consider self care, and because it's something tangible, something I can mess with my hands with. Um, I will go and I will go searching like high and low, and I will wait. I'll be patient. Um, and what I will do is I will buy them, and I will buy them at a much cheaper rate because I'm always looking for a deal. So this started probably like 4 years ago. I got a Lamborghini back when I was stuck in bed. I couldn't move around, and I was kind of in a bad headspace because I could no longer run. So I got this Lamborghini that typically would cost 400 bucks. I got it for 150. So I did that, and I can kind of say like my Lego craziness went insane because as a kid I always wanted a lot of cool Legos, but they're expensive. So as an adult, now that I can spend my own money, I can get the things that I want, but I'm still doing it on a budget. And I do that for my kiddos too. Like my son, he likes Legos too, but he likes those marble ones. So last year, or a year ago, they came out with this massive Hulkbuster Iron Man suit. And again, typically it goes for an obnoxious amount, but I got it for him for probably about a third of the cost because I waited and waited and waited until it kind of went out of season. So because that happened, it just made it easier for me to find that piece. Yeah, I just figure it's just a lot easier for me to to do this, and I'm going to make one very similar to this for my bigger pieces because I don't like doing the whole measurement thing, and this is already pre-measured, so it makes life 20 times easier. So it's kind of cool. It's like this, and then on the back, it's got an insert. So all I got to do is just pop the card in there. It's perfect size because it just fits like that. Hey, you got to think outside the box sometimes. I found that, using a ruler takes up too much of my time. I can just use that and I can get the work done in less time. Yeah, I mean, look, I love tools, but I also like making my own tools. I'm one of those notorious people that if I can turn it into a project, I'm going to. So I would take this, like I could modify this, and I add little tick marks on it just so I can make sure it's the right size, like a ruler. Like I put the ruler's edge on the side. If I wanted to have circular borders, I could make one like that. What they say, think smarter, not harder. So today's little task, I got to get this Falcon done, and then hopefully get the other guy done. But if I don't have time, then I'm just gonna have to do it separately. Just depends. um, well, it varies. It depends on what I'm doing. Hey, Hackett. Um, I will sometimes, like if I'm talking on the phone or if I'm talking on here, it takes twice as long to do it. But if I'm just sitting down, just making it probably take me like 15-20 minutes to do one. Unfortunately, I have been told that I suffer from ADHD, which I could probably see happening because I do have those squirrel mentality or that squirrel mentality, and I'm okay with that. Um, but I think just being quiet while I'm doing this isn't it doesn't bode well for me. I get bored, and I mean, heck, if I'm going to be on here, I definitely want to be talking. Yeah, but I don't let that dictate what I'm doing. It's if anything, I think it's good because it makes me more aware. So my wife is not like me. I start a lot of projects, and this is horrible, but I'll start projects and I won't finish them. Um, and I've been more aware of that. So I'm intentional to make projects that have a series of different steps so that way I feel like I'm making strides to complete the job. So like right now I decided to repaint the inside of my house. And I started with one bathroom. I've done my living room, did my kitchen, all that stuff. Now the only things that are missing in there is that I have to do the touch ups, which I didn't do when I was going through because I got frustrated with the textured walls, and I've been going up and down ladders, for hours and hours. And I will get back to that project. I just got to make efforts to do it, but I am aware that I need to finish that job. But I started that probably about 2 months ago, and I just haven't touched it because I decided I'm like I want to do some more drawing and I want to do the art challenges and all this stuff. And plus, being a teacher makes it hard too because your schedule. That's the other part. But I don't want to make excuses anymore. I've been being very intentional on making sure that if I start these things, I get them done. Because there's nothing better to a person that has ADHD to see that they've made progress. And I should say that just for anybody, if you've ever, completed a project, it's really good to feel like you got that win. I never want that to be a crutch for me ever. But it is good to know why why I would do the things that I would do. Yeah, we did. We definitely do. Those of us that have I wouldn't even call it an issue, that part of our brain um, going on. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it is. We just got to learn to live with it. And once we know what the flaw is, if we're taking on too much, we try to make something too grand. We need to scale it back, and that has to be, you have to have people around you that can be honest with you and tell you, hey, look, you're going too big. Why, instead of you doing like 400 different things, why don't you just do like three? Because you will never get that 400 done thinking like that big. That could be the big goal. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, that could be the big goal. And one thing also that I found that is very helpful that you might want to try. Oh, I feel you on that. However, I've been up since like 5 o'clock, so that's how I was at that time. um, One thing I will say that has worked for me, and this actually came from we have a business manager that we work with at our church. He's like, look, you know what works best is if you write stuff down and you can see it every day. So we have whiteboards that lead out to, before we leave the day, we're able to see these whiteboards. So they lead out to our front door. So they might be words of affirmation, they might be all these other things, but we have goals that we do for the entire year. And there'll be small goals, there'll be business goals, there'll be personal goals, all that stuff. And they have to be realistic. So this past year, my goal was to read 5 books. I didn't get a chance to do that. I started one, um, but I know why I didn't do it because I didn't make the efforts to do it. Hey, Sean, how you doing? It wasn't important enough to me to do it. However, moving forward, I know that I didn't achieve that goal, so I leave that goal up on my whiteboard because it's something I want to do, and I can't take it off the whiteboard until I've achieved it. So I found that has been extremely helpful because especially from like my personal business side and also from my work and how I deal with my family, um having that in front of me reminds me of what I need to do. The problem is with people with ADHD, they tend to take on a lot, they plan for a lot, but the problem is they forget a lot. Yes, she is. She's a professor as well. Yeah, she's a therapist, so uh, and she's extremely good at her job. And this has been one of the things that has helped me be aware of my issues, my opportunities. So I definitely, because she's so good at her job, it definitely helps. And the one part about it is that when you have your partner has to be understanding of who you are. Like, don't knock you down every time you leave socks somewhere or you have a messy area or something like that. It's just like, look, let's see what we can do to make this work better. And you take that and you give that same kind of care to somebody else that might be suffering from that. So I get to I work with some kids for in a foster care system in a group home, and there's a lot of them that run into that problem. And what I found over the time that I've worked there is, again, being very real and saying, hey, look, you think grand, no problems with that. That is absolutely a beautiful thing. However, let's break this up into things that make sense. So you want to go to college? Okay, you're in ninth grade right now. Let's get you through all the ninth grade stuff, kill it, and then you move on to 10th grade and we show you ways to be successful. So when you get all those A's and you get that positive affirmation, you get that award at the end of the year, that you've finished and all that stuff, that's a win. And then when you get to junior high, now you start seeing how the real goal starts happening. You can actually see it because you only have like 2 years to finish. And then you get the senior year. Now we're starting to do college applications. You're in a good spot where you can actually go to college and be successful and start gaining the things that you want to gain. My thing is that I always want to be able to help those people that are running into those issues because I don't I don't want them to fail. And I never saw myself as a failure, but the thing is that my teachers always saw things that I never saw because I was a kid. I mean, how am I supposed to know that I've got these things going on with me? But they knew, my parents knew, and they put me around support systems that helped me so I wouldn't fail. But you have to have a good, loving environment to do that. Yeah, I mean, you wonder why you can't finish certain things, and you never understand why. Like it's frustrating. Like you have these grand ideas of things that you want to do, and you don't do it, or you say, for example, you fail at something, and it's devastating to you. You ever had that happen? So that's the thing. Like when I teach these kids about that, the reason why again it's so devastating is because they have this big goal, and all it takes is one thing to, knock down their pyramid of just where they wanted to go. However, if we say, okay, well, we're going to run a marathon, that's our goal. We want to run a marathon. Well, marathon's huge, right? It's 26 miles. It takes a long time to train to get to that. However, if you get good at running, say for 10 minutes, and then you get good at running a mile solid, and then you do 4 or 5 Ks, now you're getting confidence because you're able to do these things. And then you jump it up to, I just went ahead and did a half marathon. Okay. It wasn't a great time, but guess what? I completed it. But again, it all goes back to getting people to just sit down and slow down and um, be realistic with themselves. I think the biggest part for it too that I found was I stopped comparing myself to other people. That was my biggest problem. How you doing, Karen? Yeah, comparing myself to other people was probably my biggest downfall because I'd be like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Why am I having such a hard time at this? And once that stopped, then I was in a better place. Well, that's the thing, with art, and I teach this to my students now, because a lot of them get discouraged because they might see somebody else's art, because we do a lot of show and tell of people's skills and whatnot. And I tell them about my story. When I used to do conventions a lot. And I would go up and down the aisles of Artist Alley and be like, I can beat that person. I'm better than this person. And then I'm better than this person. Right. However, I realized over time, and especially after I saw this one girl making so much money off of little chibi sketches, I realized, listen, I am not her. She is not me. We don't draw the same way. And again, this goes back to your point that you said differences make are important. Um, I realized that, and I tell my students, I'm like, you if you guys were trained the same exact way, if you guys were clones, like exact clones, you learned exactly the same way, then you can make that comparison. But because you guys are completely different, you can take that pressure off the table. It doesn't exist. It's not real. At the end of the day, the art has to connect. Now, you might be connecting the art to yourself, which you should be doing because you have to do the thing that makes you happy. Not stop trying to appease everybody else. Do what makes you happy. And guess what? The benefit or the yeah, the benefit or the byproduct is that other people see the love and care that you put into your work. Yeah, absolutely. Because we are our own worst critic. And once we get out of that world of doing that to ourselves and beating ourselves up, and just realize, hey, look, I make some pretty cool stuff. Is it all going to be knocking stuff out of the park? Absolutely not. But if I can see where, I can make some adjustments, I will. Yeah. But Bob Ross said it, the best back when he would do his paintings. Everything that you do, you have happy little accidents. They're not mistakes, they're happy little accidents, which they are. That's what makes your work so authentic. I mean, I look at like art, for example, looking at Lin Manuel Miranda's uh, Hamilton, right? So Lin Manuel Miranda spent multiple years creating that play. And I remember seeing a report. He said that just for one of those songs, he spent a year trying to perfect it. We don't know all the background or all the stages of what he went through to get to that. Right? He and the people that produced the play with him do, but we as the society don't know that. And he junked a lot of that stuff. And at the end of the day, he came up with something that's so beautiful and so beloved by so many people. But he did it for himself. He was creating something that he loved based in, a genre that he enjoyed. And we as artists have to do the same. Like we have to really make work that appeals to us and stop getting into this realm of being perfect because it doesn't exist. You know, we have to teach our kids that. Um, and I know as kids are growing, yeah, I get you on that. Yeah, but we just gotta, we gotta teach our kids. That's the biggest part, is teaching our kids how to do the same exact thing. Like how to be patient, how to create things for yourself that you appreciate. Stop trying to, be like your best friend that might draw anime better than you. That's not your shtick. I've taken my kids to, um art galleries and stuff like that, and I think that's very important, even with like music too. Expose them to things like that, because um that would help them. And anybody can draw like this, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I firmly believe that. I can teach anybody how to draw. It's time in. It is 100% time in. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I didn't start getting better at my work until I started putting more time into it. So even just a few months ago, when I started off doing this Whatnot channel, my work was really, really rough. But I had a goal when I created this channel that, I have certain things that I want to get better at. For example, drawing the female form. I don't get a lot of requests for it, so I put it into my um batch of pieces that I have for this set, because I know I can draw dynamic things, but in order to draw a female, it's way different than drawing a male figure. And you have to work at it if it's not something that you do on a regular basis. So, like, when I want to get back into painting, I have to do some tests and I have to do some work. And it doesn't take, I mean, it's not something I can do overnight. I actually have to put in some work because I don't paint that often. And the color theory stuff is the same, but being able to remember how to do the mixes and making sure you have the right paints and all that stuff, same thing. Sculpture, same exact thing. I haven't sculpted in probably like 6-7 months. If I was to jump back on it now, it would be very rough. But anybody can do anything. I mean, honestly, anything that we want to do and we want to put time into, we're going to create something brilliant. He is brown, not that color. Dead? Yeah, that one's dead. Yeah, I'm getting into the woodworking. So I've recently got back into doing string art. Well, I mean, honestly, here's what I would do is, um, so the wood art, real quick. So I started back doing string art, and that particular field is fun. Like it, I had somebody look at something I was doing yesterday, and they're like, "I don't know how you sit up there and do that. You have the patience of Job." And I'm like, I enjoy it because I can see the goal, I can see the end of it, and it's going to be beautiful when it's done. Yeah. Let me pull one up for you. Let's see here. Wondering if I have a picture of the latest one I'm working on. Well, this is one that I'm working on with one of my students. So there's that one. And then the one that I'm working on looks like this. Where's my picture of it? I haven't been taking a lot of pictures, which I should do because this piece is freaking amazing. Where is it? Actually, let me show you the one that I did earlier this year because that'll be a better example. Did I finish that? I must have finished that after or during the summertime. Here it is. Yeah, this is it. Make sure it doesn't blur because it's very blurry. Okay, so this is the piece that I did. Oops, there it goes. Yeah, so that one, I mean, again, that kind of piece, I'm trying to kind of figure out how long it takes to make it. I think right now I'm sitting at about 10 hours worth of work. So that's something I want to really start doing and adding into my business because, like you, I want to create options for kids. I also want to create options for adults. Adults need outlets too. I don't want to put it all on just the kids. The kids get a lot of stuff. But here's the thing. If kids and adults get a chance to work together, like they get to create together, could you just imagine how much fun they could have just sitting down having an art day? I can't tell you the amount of students I have, that want to learn how to draw. And we have no art places, no art clubs, nothing like that we can do. So I've been wanting to make one for years because I feel that, not only just having an art club, but having an art community gives you an opportunity to be able to talk with people, which is a big problem. People don't communicate, effectively for whatever reason. We are communicative people, and it's important that people have a connection. So that's one piece of it. The other piece is that now you get exposed to things that you did not know how to do. So I would have people that might be into cameras. I might have somebody that comes in and talks about, what I do, doing comic book stuff, how to tell a story, um, how to animate, heck, how to do woodwork. Or we might just have a drawing day where people just have a bunch of things and then they get to just create. Kind of like what we used to do back in grade school, and we just used to create. Here are the tools, let's go. Yeah, I think having a club, for me personally, I think it's going to work out much, much better because I would be able to manage that. I really feel like that is a doable thing. Look how what did I do here? That's white. This is white. Okay, that's white. This is that's weird. Well, I'll just make it the way I want to make it. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I've I buy comics not for stories anymore. I stopped buying comics for stories back in the early 2000s. So they're basically art pieces for me. The reason I say that is because I'll buy books just because of specific artists. I mean, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, uh, J. Scott Campbell, Rob Liefeld, Scotty Young, Humberto Ramos, this guy by the name of Joe Madureira. You know, I just buy their art because I love to look at it. It's stunning, and I followed them for years. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I mean it. I just I wish I could say I would collect it like most people would. I just don't have that in me. Like there's certain comics that just don't. I don't like the way that comics are made nowadays. They I love good art, right? And I feel that ever since we went from like regular printing, traditional printing to digital printing, and even going into digital art takes away from some of the authenticity of the artist's work. Case in point, if you take a look at 90s comics, you can almost feel like when you look at the pages, it looks like you're looking at the actual page that the artist did. Now things are too super polished that you lose some of that tangibility that makes the art really good. So if you take a look at like old Todd McFarlane Spider-Man books, look at those, and then look at even his new stuff that he did when he first started doing Spawn and stuff like that. You can see the difference. There's a clear, distinct difference. Um, I think having too many tools can take away from the art. I knew this guy. His name was Clay Mann. He still draws comics for Marvel and DC and all that stuff, but he was one of those artists. Dude did fantastic work. As soon as it went to color, all of his, you know, drawing isms, the things that made his art, really pop, kind of just like deflated. And I know that that's a problem between the colorist and the artist because the relationship's not the match. Um, so, for example, Jim Lee has specific people that he works with, that he has a team that know how to color his work, know how to ink his work, and word his work, and everything is cohesive. Not everybody has teams like that. So it makes things a little bit more challenging, a lot more tricky. That's where I messed up. Okay, so we got that fixed. Hey, Roz, what's up? Yeah, it just takes time to figure that out. Yeah, I'm very passionate about when comics and stuff like that. Even like Rob Liefeld, the guy that did Deadpool, the co-creator. He just launched his book. Who signed the book, or what book is it that you got signed? Oh, that's cool. So that's a keeper right there. Very, very cool. Yeah, I don't have a lot of signed books, but the ones I do have signed, I love. That's cool. That sounds like something I did when I went to my comic book shop years ago. This guy, his name's Townsend. I think it's Tim Townsend, and he did a book back for Image years ago. And the comic book shop I had, this book was just sitting in a pile of stuff, and I ran into it, and I'm like, "This is signed. I'm getting this." And it was in a dollar bin. So good job for you. Kudos. So, like I was saying, back to like the digital side of things. So, Rob Liefeld, um, who's the co-creator of Deadpool, he just relaunched, or I should say, he just launched a new version of his Youngblood comic books. He did a reprint of the original ones, new digital. the The colors were weird, but they made more sense for um, the books that he was producing. It did enhance certain things, but at certain points, it also took things out that were part of the original book. Um, so there is a balance. And again, knowing who you're working with will definitely change that quality. Like your team is important. Yeah. Yeah. So I actually did a book years ago. It's called Beast Knights. Um, we did a Kickstarter for it. Um, I be honest with you, it's the only project that I haven't finished that I have to finish before I can go ahead and release my own personal book. I owe copies of it to the people that supported me, so that's one project I have to finish. It is on my list of things to get done. Um, it's been on my list for multiple years. Well, so there's a issue. I wouldn't even say an issue. There's a Well, I would love to self-publish on Amazon, and I think if it was something that was a starter, I would do it. Because as you know, since you're self-published through Amazon, Amazon takes I think it's 30% of your profit, which in the grand scheme of things is not bad because they do all the publishing and all or printing and all that stuff. So I can see how that would benefit. But that's a nice little chunk. So you sell a $10 book, you're realistically only getting seven bucks off of it. But the other flip side to it is that you are published. And once the book has done its run, as you know, you have the UPC that is yours and or the ISBN and that belongs to you. This well, you know, I will say having self-published that Beast Knights book, it wasn't that bad. Um I had to print my books and the books were really once I did it all, they were like it came down to like $4 or $5 a book. Um, if you're doing creator owned, no, I mean it's way cheaper. And of course, if you buy in bulk and you happen to go to certain people, um, it's way cheaper to do it that way, and you save a ton of money. So we have a shop here. It's called Comics Wellspring, and they do books. They do trade paperbacks. They do, like, if you want to have your own personal cards, like these kind of cards, you want to have them stylized just for you, they'll do that. Um, but that's how I self-published. And then I basically did a tour. We went to different conventions and stuff, and that's how we really got the word out about the book. But I mean, don't get me wrong. Now, when I self-published, Amazon really wasn't pushing their books that you could produce on through them. And honestly, if I had known that, I would have done that in addition to doing the other work. And mainly because Amazon's got a bigger reach than going to conventions. So you would go to a convention, you would still have to spend money to be at the convention, and you might sell a couple of books. If you happen to have done something that really struck somebody's eye. Whereas if you're on Amazon, now you have more people. Yes, you're going to lose 30%, but in all honesty, that 30% I would eat just so I could get the bigger audience. Yeah. But at the end of the day, this all goes back to what you and I were talking about earlier. You got to create stuff that you want to create, and you have to decide where you want it to go. That is the honest goodness truth. Are you wanting it to get big? Well, then you got to push and you got to make that happen. Like, for example, this particular project that I'm working on, I'm not, even though I'm doing 1,000 pieces, it's more my mission. And if people happen to get pieces along the way, then cool. If not, it's all good, because at the end of the day, I created something that I wanted to create. I have bigger goals for this once I'm done with it, and I'll achieve all those goals. Well, yeah, I mean that's part of it too. Because this is one thing I realized, and this is the part that people get discouraged about, right? I might talk to you, and you may not get anything from me. I'm not gonna be mad that you don't. However, you might run into a friend of yours tomorrow, and they're like, I really need to get. I'm looking for this piece of artwork, and I can't find anybody to do it. And you might be like, hey, look, I just talked to this guy online. He does these things. You'll show your friend what I do, and they'll be like, oh my god, how do I get in contact with him? And you give the contact information, and voila, it works that way. It's very organic. I used to watch people on here, and I'm like, man, I'm not making as much as they are, and and then I went back to what was my core reason for coming on here, and that lasted all of about 20 seconds. And I was like, I didn't come on here to make money. That wasn't my goal. My goal was to come on here and do more drawing. That's what it was at the core. and I feel like I'm succeeding in that goal. I mean, this week's been a little bit slower, but it's Christmas time, so I get it how what's going to happen. All right, Falcon is done. Oh man, I might have to do a little bit on one, and then I might have to call it. Thank you. See, you should come up on here and do some stuff like this. Why are you scared? Because I'm about to go ahead and shock you here in just a minute. What do you mean you're a background character? I'm about to go and throw something back at you that you gave me last week. So I'm gonna. Okay, so you remember last week when I told you about the talent show? Okay, so your words and other people that were on here were, "Hey, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. You have nothing to lose." And I was like, "You're right. I don't have anything to lose at all. I have everything to gain. Top prize with $1,000." Now, I was scared as hell. I don't do talent shows. I can talk in front of an audience, no problem. Talent show, no. um, so I said, you know what? I have nothing to lose except for the money that I spend to buy the supplies that I need for the talent show. So I knew I was going to do drawing because that's my shtick. And I ended up doing. I went and got one of those big Post-it drawing pads. I got an easel that I had in my car ready to go. And I was like, okay, well, I can draw. That's easy. I mean, the drawing part's simple. But how do I make it better? So I drew a piece, but I did it upside down. And people were like, what the hell is going on here? So I gave myself 2 minutes and I drew a Grinch upside down. And I ended up winning 3rd place in the competition. And I ended up getting the prize. So when you say that you're scared, cool, that's great. Be scared. You know what? Once you do it, guess what? It's done. Now you move on to the next one. And the cool part about it here is that, your face is not on camera unless you want it to be. All people are going to hear is your voice. And you could sweat bullets that first one. More than likely, you're going to do the first show and you might have one person pop up, if any. Because I think my first show, I didn't have anybody in that show. People would pop in and out, but there was nobody sticking around. But when everything was said and done, by the 3rd or 4th show, I had a good rhythm going, and I would talk as if I had somebody right in front of me. I didn't care. and I was like shooting the shit, and it was no big deal. And you get comfortable the more that you do it. Yeah, and you know what? I started out in mine where I would come up with topics, and eventually somebody would come on there and be like, "Hey, yeah, I agree with this." And my topics that I came up with were more art related. I focused in on techniques and skill and process and stuff like that, and then it moved into things that I enjoyed. Topics that I personally was passionate about. So it would be like movies and TV shows, things that I wanted to reflect on, and if people came in, we're good. So that's why I say, it's not going to be a problem for you to do this, especially if it's something that you like to do. Then the work speaks for itself. Well, look, you know what you could do just to kind of challenge yourself. Say, screw it. I'm going to do a pre-show. I'm just going to go ahead and just do a rando show. Don't schedule it. Just do a rando show and go. Don't do it on Christmas, of course. But if you got some time, say, hey, you know what? I'm going to jump on here for an hour and I'm going to do the show. I'm going to wish you a happy early birthday just in case I don't catch you on the 20th. But I will be looking for your show, though. Yeah, that was a good year. But my best years are once I turned 40. That's when stuff really started to kick off. I'm going to give you the same advice that I've given anybody that gets to that point. And this was told to me by my aunt, very wise woman. So she goes, listen, from the ages of 40 to 60, you are going to make the biggest strides in your life. That is when you are going to be the most solid in your life. And the rest is all downhill from there. Like easy. Well, think about it. Okay. So when you hit 40, at that point, you've had a lot of experience in life, whether you've had kids, whether you've had multiple jobs, whether you have finished schooling, you're focused. Like you know what you want to do. You should be, at least. Most of us are at this point because we're past the days of doing like hardcore drinking, hardcore partying, and that stuff. We just aren't there anymore. So now we have to focus on the things that are going to keep us, around for a while. So now we're passionate about our family. We want to spend time with our family. We want to spend time with people that we love. We want to enjoy the things that we want to do. So now we're planning effectively. We're like focused in on what we want to do. So I can tell you my biggest strides, like my biggest career moves have happened in my 40s. My biggest successes with my kids have happened in my 40s. Um, the way that I'm able to communicate with people effectively have happened in my 40s. Hey, Benja, all of those things have happened during that time. And you'll find that that happens with you as well. You will not realize it until it happens. And then you're going to be looking at 41. You'll be like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is crazy. And you won't have fear for it. You're just going to do it. You're going to succeed. So, Benja, just so you know, I'm working on a card series right now. This guy is called Phantomex. So this is the guy. I've seen him before, but I've never drawn him. So this is what he looks like. He looks like that. He's like an assassin. So we're getting that knocked out. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy the things that will happen over the course of your life. So, like in my 20s, personally, I was, you know, not focused. I was all over the place. I was driven by money. Like I did one to do nothing but make money. I treated people badly, which is not a good thing at all because you're in life you're supposed to build relationships, not create division. And now at my, now that I'm in my 40s, I'm just like, look, I want to see people succeed because guess what? When I hit 80, those people that I might have done dirty are the ones that are going to have to take care of me. They're making decisions that might affect my life. Their decisions might affect my kids' lives, that kind of thing. So why don't I train them up instead of breaking them down? Absolutely. So you really do become more aware of what's going on. I mean, it's very powerful. And I listen to people that are not, let me be very clear. I listen to elders that have had the success that I would like to have. Now, I'm not saying they have the exact same success. So, if I wanted to be a teacher or a professor, I will talk to people that have been in that particular arena and not just for 5 years. This is what they're going on the way out. So, they've had ample amount of time to learn lessons and to be able to pass that knowledge on to me. So when my aunt went ahead and told me this, she had been a leader of a principal of a very successful school where kids didn't know how to read, didn't know about phonics, didn't know how to, you know, create cursive writing, all that kind of good stuff. I think they were a D-rated school at the time, and she bumped them up to an A-rated school within like 2 years. And that is effective leadership. So why don't you listen to people that, know what the hell they're doing? You literally build a culture of success. Like you walk into a room, your kids respect you, your faculty respects you. So that's you're building that culture. And the same thing is like when you hit that time, you're like, okay, I want to be an electrician or I want to be a financial, planner. Why don't you want to be the most successful financial planner? And you realize, okay, I have goals and visions. I'm going to be this financial planner. So that way, the long term goal is I can go out and I can go and have trips with my kids. I can have financial freedom. And at the same time, okay, I want to be able to have this balance of things. So you're a lot more knowledgeable. You're a lot more aware of the things that you are doing. In your 20s, you don't think like that. In your 30s, you are getting there, but you don't think like that. Also, the big thing that I found out is when you hit your 40s, you really are more aware of physically what you can do. You're very strategic in the things that you do. So, for example, I ended up tearing my quadriceps tendon playing tag with my kids. at my school. And then I realized, okay, I can still be athletic, but I can't push it like I was when I was 20 because I don't bounce back as quickly. You just gotta be aware of those things. But you don't bounce back as quick. And it's not that you're not trying to, it's just the way that your body and your system works. So you're a little bit more cautious on the things that you do. You don't take risks like you used to physically. Because you could take a risk and it can literally derail things that you want to do. But you know what? That whole injury humbled me. It actually made me look at things from a different set of lenses. In my 40s I ended up knocking out my master's degree. Absolutely, you do. You absolutely do. I can make calculated risks. Like, okay, I want to run again. Like, I want to do marathons again, but I have to be very strategic on the things that I do. Like, I have to work out a certain way, I have to eat a certain way, I have to have a certain running regiment that I do. Because that, for me, that was a freedom that I enjoyed. And losing that hurt a lot. And it's taken me multiple years to get back to a point where I could even just start doing it again. But the 40s, honestly, are awesome. And I can only imagine, when I hit 50s, I'm gonna be like in a whole nother realm. The good part is like I have older kids. So when I hit my 50s, I'll be able to enjoy more time. That's one good thing. I mean, I will say having, kids like that are older. Yeah, I mean, I talked to my wife about it, and I say, what are we going to do once the kids are out? Like empty nester syndrome, right? And a lot of people don't have a clue. Like, are you going to like grow apart because that used to be the central part of your relationship? And that's, for me, that's not the case. My thing is like, okay, now that we don't have kids, guess what? We're going to get to enjoy time with each other. We're going to go out and go enjoy the things that we like to enjoy. We're going to eat together. We're going to cook together. We're going to, you know, enjoy new heights that we didn't have before because we had to focus on our kids because our kids come first. Yeah. And the thing is that with that kind of family, it's weird. How you doing, Big Show? With that kind of family dynamic, it is hard. But I've realized, like over the time in the course of me, having my family, I have to build time for that bond between me and my wife because that connection, if as long as we're strong at our core, we're going to be successful in helping out our kids be even stronger because we're going to be the example. And again, this goes back to like when you hit that 40 area, when you first started, it feels weird. Like it doesn't feel like there's a change, but give it until like 41, and you're gonna see like some difference. Um, Enjoy the latter part of your 30s, but when you get into your 40s, like get focused on the things that you want to do. When I was in my 40s, I went and I was like, I never really saw myself finishing my master's, after a certain point in my life. But I then got my I got my bachelor's, and then all of a sudden I was like, well, hell, you know what? I can do this. And I went ahead and got my master's, no problem, because it was going to lead to bigger doors, more opportunities. And from there, then I was like, well, I did a master's. I'm going to go and get a doctorate. Well, I had to pump the brakes on the doctorate part, but I'm going to get it. But you're more focused. You can do those kind of things. When we're young, again, one, we might not have the time. Two, we don't have the focus to do it because it's a lot. We look at it like this also relates to that ADHD thing. We're like, oh my God, it's overwhelming. I got to do all these tests. I got to go and do all these courses and all this stuff. And you don't see the bigger picture. All of this is a stepping stone to bigger and better opportunities. It gives you bargaining power. Having a doctorate doesn't, it can give me more money, but at what cost? For me right now, it's just like, I don't see a point for me to go and get the doctorate because I need to have somebody else that's going to pay the bill because it's expensive. It'll give me the opportunity to work in other universities, but I'd have to go to those universities. And right now, I don't want to do that. Well, that's the thing. You're going to be able to open up that storefront. Well, Benja, it was so good seeing you. I'm usually on here on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So I'd love to have you on here again. I'd love to talk to you again. Have yourself a very blessed Thursday. But Kay, you can open up your storefront. You can absolutely open up your storefront. And let me tell you how you're going to pull this off. You need to get with some folks that are in that area. Okay. You're going to have to start small. You're going to have to probably build out of your home and scale it up. First thing that you have to do is kind of figure out what it is that you want to do for that storefront. What is the goal? Put that on that whiteboard. Put that at the very top of the whiteboard because that's the goal. Okay. And underneath that, you're going to write it down. What are three things that you want to focus in on? Don't give yourself more than that. You give yourself more than that, it's too overwhelming. But three things that you want to focus on for that particular business. So if you're building if you want to build an art studio, or create an experience for people, what are those three things that that you can build up on? So for me, on my graphic design business, my thing was websites, logos, and illustration. Those are the three things I want to focus in on. So I built up each one of those pillars, and off of that, now I'm starting to have, cash flow that I can stock away and then eventually do whatever I need to do with that. Okay. If you are doing the arts, now is the time for you to really kind of figure that part out. And yes, there are grants and stuff out there, but you got to find people that you can connect with. I mean, you can go to your local chamber of commerce, start talking, finding out, businesses that you can work with and start building that network. And you know what? That's the part where the chamber of commerce will come into play. Like you can get in contact with these companies, and a lot of folks out there in your community want to do these kind of things, but they don't have a connecting point. And that's why I said, if you start small, like if you can even get a room at a community center for like $50 to $100, okay? Hang on one second. Okay. If you can get a room for 50 to 100 bucks and you charge 20 to 30 bucks a head, okay? And you're doing that for 2 hours. You're doing good. You're doing really good. And you do that like twice a month, you're doing really good. You're making money. Yeah, these are the things that, yeah, and I didn't think about this until I wanted to do it. But again, okay, it all comes back to you making sure that you put that on a board that you can see. Do not put it in a notebook. You can have the notebook, absolutely, but you need to see it so that way you can visualize what your goal is every day and you're working towards that goal. But the first thing that you have to do, go buy that whiteboard because I have notebooks. I can't tell you how many notebooks I have of just stuff. I mean, I have those like little, black and white books. They have the, composition books. I have tons of those. We're great at making plan. We're great at putting things in a notebook, but the problem is we never go back to the notebook. We never go back to it, and that's a big problem. So like I said, when my business leadership in our church built this plan or was given this plan to build what we call, I think it's called like financial. I can't remember the name of the group, but anyway, their goal is to build people that can build up the kingdom of God, but they're going to be businesses that are built in faith and then they are able to help build this culture. So one of the things that he and his wife did, and I remember seeing it, I'd go into their office and they had huge whiteboards just full of stuff. I never read them, but it had their plans. And then I went to my best friend. Now my best friend is a financial planner. He's so good at his stuff, like he is ridiculous. But he, his wife, his daughter and son each have a board and it literally sits right near their garage door. So they use their garage door to leave the house. So every day they can go by that door and they will see their stuff. And the goal is to take out something every year, like take out a series of different things, whether it be like going to college, whether it's getting a car, making a certain amount of money, all that stuff. These are things that you have to do. You have to make attainable goals. Like if you tell yourself, hey, look, this year I want to get I want to start a class, and in that class I want to have 10 people consistently for 6 months. That's what I want. Okay. That is reasonable. That's an attainable goal. And once you do that, you're going to see so much success come your way. I am sure that you can go up to the community center that's in your area and be like, hey, how much is a room for me to rent for 2 hours? They're going to give you a rate, and you'll be like, okay, cool, cool, let's go and do that. Here's the thing: what is your time worth? Think about when you work, right? Is $10 an hour enough to teach people? Maybe. That's not my rate, you know, but you're creating an experience for people. And people will pay for an experience. I really want you to think about yourself. Like when you go to a theme park or you take your kids out to the movies or you go out to dinner, think about it. Like it's on that level. How much is that experience worth to you? If you ever done like a paint and sip, I paid $45 for a paint and sip. I did it for 2 hours. That was great. You're not charging people. I'm sorry, let me rephrase myself. You are charging people for an experience. And if you create a positive experience, you are going to do well. No, don't charge for materials. You got to charge for your time. You have to, the materials, you know, you can do that for the first go around, but eventually you have to kind of change it up. You have to, start somewhere. But I would say, if you're going to do it, you charge $50 a person. I'm sure that you're going to get some kickback the first time, but once word of mouth gets out there about what you're doing, $50 is not going to be anything. Did you ever send your kids to summer camp at all? Because this will be a really good eye opener for you. Have you ever sent them to summer camp? No? Okay. I really want you to think about this. So you didn't send your kids to summer camp because it was expensive. But if you had sent them to summer camp, think of what their experience would have been like. What they would have come back to you saying, Mom, I had the best time ever. We did this, this, and this. I want to go back again. Have your kids ever done organized sports? Okay. All right. So this is actually a really good opener for you because this is the same exact thing. Think about how your kids are when they go to those organized sports. How do they feel? Do they hate it? Do they enjoy it? Do they want to keep on coming back to it? But that's the experience. You are paying into their experience. And those groups do not have a problem saying, hey, it's X, Y, and Z amount. Now, yes, part of that is going to cover the expenses of equipment, time to rent the field. They make a profit and probably a pretty good one. But you can't put a price on experience. Like that is huge. So when you are charging $50 a person, if you have a group of 3 people and you have those 3 people and they spend $50 a piece, that's $150. And if your room only costs you $50, you know, you're up $100. And then those 3 people tell other people. We have an associate that we know, an acquaintance my wife went to. She owns a beauty shop, and she would do these exclusive. Um, I don't know if it was a beauty day, but it was a makeup session, right? So the makeup session that she did for 2 hours was like $200. Okay, for those $200, she showed the ladies how to do their makeup, introduced them to brushes that they could use, and then offered them an opportunity to, save some money on the things that they had learned about. Yeah, I mean, just think about this. If your daughter didn't have that cheerleading outlet, what would she be doing right now? She'd be sitting at home, probably sitting on her phone, you know, or getting into stuff. Whereas it's a little different. She's actually enjoying life. She's hanging out with her friends, building bonds. It's just, it's way different. And you have an opportunity here to do it. It doesn't have to become your life, but it's got to start somewhere. And you have to be intentional when you make this decision. And just think about it. Like, you see your daughter and how happy she is doing what she's doing in cheer. Just think of how you could affect other people by giving them an experience in the arts. Here's the thing. I mean, my the whiteboard idea, and I will be a broken record on this. The whiteboard idea is essential because it holds you accountable, and you'll be surprised. But your kids, if they see the whiteboard, they're going to probably do their own, because kids also like to have goals. Your husband will probably see it as well, and he will probably hold you accountable for it. Yeah. But I would do it as a family event. Like, you all sit at the table, you all write your stuff down that you want to effectively focus on for the year of 2026. And if you are spiritual people, I would definitely tell you, pray on it. And you guys got to get in alignment, and everybody has to be on the same page. And once you do that, there ain't nothing that you guys can't do. And as you start seeing the the you start knocking off the things that you achieve, you're going to be so happy. And I would leave those things on there, like, even if you finish them and you got to kind of shift them upward or downward, but leave them on there, and then you'll see this collection of things that you've done over a period of time, and you will be so happy. Because one win leads into another win. And again, you're showing your kids something that you feel passionate about. And that, you know what? That's a good thing. What's up, Professor? I can't tell you how many times, like, this past year, you know, I, you know, I fell on a word, right? My whole word, because I prayed on it. We always try to find a verse or something like that that, you know, kind of gives us focus for the year. So my word that I thought was the word was excellence, which excellence you should have in anything that you do, but it wasn't the right thing. As the year went by, I ended up hitting this verse. It was Psalms 37, 9 through, sorry, 7 through 9. And basically the gist of it was talking about patience. So this year has been nothing but being patient, showing patience to others, being patient in the things that are happening, and realizing that once the season is coming to an end, the ability to see the light at the end of the tunnel is so easy. And my year's been patience. So I left a job that I had done for 8.5 years, or sorry, 8 years. And that was very hard to do, but it was time. And right now I'm in a patience level where I'm waiting to get a full-time professor spot. It's coming, but I just have to be patient. I can't rush it. I tried to, because I tried to go get another job doing graphic design stuff, but that didn't pan out. because that's not what I'm supposed to do. So that's why I'm saying, if all of you are in alignment, you're going to be perfect. You don't realize how much your kids look at what you do, but if you start this trend, your kids will follow in line, and then other kids will be like, why are they so successful? What are they doing? I don't know what they're doing. This is the start to that momentum. Yeah, it's all part of the plan. I stopped telling people there's no such thing as luck. Things happen because they're supposed to. You don't know the plan, but all of a sudden, when it's all passed, it's crazy. Once it's all passed, and you look at everything, you're like, "Damn it, that's the way it was supposed to happen, wasn't it?" There's a reason why I didn't take that road, you know, because there's an accident that happened literally, right after I passed it. Coincidence doesn't happen. It happens because it's supposed to. It's coincidence because you don't realize what the plan is. Thank you very much. You have yourself a great one. Have a very blessed one. If you're up here tomorrow, I'll be here in the morning. Take care. So, Professor, what you up to today? I'm doing pretty good. I'm just trying to wrap this piece up before I gotta go. I might actually have to cut this short today because I'm in full elf mode for my other job, so I gotta go and wrap gifts and all that fun stuff. So today's gonna be a fun day. I love doing that stuff. So is this the last couple days before your kids are done for the winter break? Oh, that's cool. Hopefully they're excited. Hey, little red. No, I'm drawing this guy. His name is what a weird name. This guy's name is Fandomex or Phanomex. Never drawn him before. I've seen him multiple times. From what I see, he's like an assassin. I had to go when I was creating this list. I was just trying to come up with like random characters, and I did look into a character generator so I could kind of find people that I've never drawn before, and this was one of those people. I'll show you an example of what the guy actually looks like here. This is him. That's him. But after this, then I'll go ahead and get back into people that I know. The next person I got to do is a guy named Firestar, and then I get to do Forge from the X-Men. So that'll be fun. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You got on here a little late, but I'm going to show you the one I did earlier. So this is Falcon that was done earlier today. So I did that guy earlier. So more of the traditional look of the Falcon instead of the Marvel DCU version. And then these are some of the other pieces that I've had a chance to do over the course of the last couple weeks, because this is a whole series I'm doing. Let me see if I can zoom this out so you can see it. Let me see here. Let me zoom out. All right, so these are some of the other characters that I've done. So we got Dagger and Daredevil, some Shadowhawk. I got Domino there. Obviously Deadpool. Got to have him. Electro. Let's see here. See if I can fold this over so you can see it. Got some Cable, Captain America, Cannonball, Captain Britain, Carnage, Cloak, Colossus, Cyclops, right there. Zemo, Beast, Beta Ray Bill. I got Bishop. I did. I have the first Marvel set and the second Marvel set, and then the X-Men set. So those are my three that I keep on hand at all times. Those are my favorite cards that I own. And I own two sets of the Marvel or of the X-Men sets. I only own two because I lost one set and then I ended up having to rebuy it. Yeah, I mean, I love those cards. Unfortunately, that market kind of went sour because everybody thought it was going to be a multi-million-dollar card, set. But I like them more for the art. I like the fact that I got to see multiple artists do it. Back when I was a kid and I saw Jim Lee do his whole set, oh my gosh, that blew my mind. Because Jim Lee was on a tear, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, hey, we're gonna do this X-Men set of cards," and you're like, "You're gonna do what?" I remember spending I think it was like 50 or $100 for that card for a box to get it, and me and my friend sat there and we did nothing but open up packs until we got the whole set. I never got the entire set because the entire set included the foils. Yeah, they were. Yeah, I miss those days. I really do. I mean, it's nothing like, getting cards, right? And, getting it, trading them with your friends. You guys flipping cards and all this kind of good stuff. I mean, I was so bad at doing stuff like that. Like I took money from my dad just so I can go and get stuff like that. I had some huge obsession with that kind of stuff. I mean, I bought the Spider-Man set back in the day. So basically, it was just screenshots of Todd McFarlane's books, and then you have black and whites on the back. Um, okay, well, you have yourself a good one. I will talk to you later, man. All the best. Have a blessed one. All right, guys, I got to go ahead and call it. It has been fun. It has been real, but I got to get going. And I will be back up here tomorrow. Should be back up by trying to pop in here by 9. If I get up here earlier, then I'm going to do that and knock out as many as I can until noon. So I wish you guys all the best. Have a very amazing day. And if I don't see you before Christmas, have a very happy Christmas. Take care, guys. Bye bye.